8, or we'll continue on page 8, where we just finished with brokenness. It's always a lovely topic to speak about, because the truth is, I mean that seriously, it's something we often turn away from. We don't generally open up about our own brokenness or the brokenness of life. But it really is, it's a beautiful subject, it's a necessary topic, and the truth is, it's who we are. We all have broken aspects within, and coming together, speaking, can bring some hope, some healing. In fact, one of the ways the rabbis, it's a play on the word Pesach, Peh, and Sach. It says the mouth that speaks. This is not, if you did that in my Hebrew class, I failed. But this is more of like a midrashic way, more poetic way of reading the name. Pesach, Pesach. It means the mouth that speaks, and this holiday is about redemption, right? Not about historic redemption from Egypt, but about healing within, redemption from within. And the idea here of the mouth that speaks, what is the connection? Why did the rabbis come up with this cute little wordplay of the mouth that speaks, and rooting that somehow in the holiday of redemption? Because what it's telling us, I think, is very psychologically sound. It's that in life, so often we fail to speak about our own brokenness, our own pain, our own loss, when we are simply out of ourselves and away from ourselves. And so what the rabbis are saying is, Pesach, the holiday of redemption, intimately and personally happens when Pesach, when the mouth speaks. If you're able to find somebody that you can speak to, who will listen to you, that is beginning of redemption. But if you keep, there's no greater pain. You know, the rabbis teach, the greater the pain, the less tongue it has. The greater the pain, the less tongue it has. They're often just silenced. So the antidote is a mouth that speaks. Find a friend, find a place. There's always the one above. There's always the one above who will listen. Always speak, and it helps. It helps when you're hurting. So, from the 4th stage, we go to the 5th stage, Magid. Magid means telling. It's the same root as the word Haggadah in English. It's just it's a different form. Haggadah, Magid is a verb. It's a hifil participle. How's that for? Everybody really wants to leave now. Talk about exile. I'll start talking about participles, Joe. Although it's important. Because Magid, I know it says the Passover story, that's not what it means. Magid it's a participle, it's in a causal form of the verb, but it's an ongoing action. Because it's something we have to regularly do. Here's now where we begin the story of the exile, where we talk about it. But I'm going to do a little chant for you. We begin with something, it's an Aramaic section of it's not Hebrew, it looks Hebrew, but it's not. It's a different language, it's Aramaic. And if you look at it in English, it speaks of this is the bread of our affliction. That our forefathers ate in the land of Egypt. This is how we begin our story. This is the actual telling of the story. Because the commandment is to tell your son. You have to tell our child. So it's speaking here about the bread of affliction, which our forefathers ate in the land of Egypt. All who are hungry, let them come and eat. All who are needy, let them come and celebrate the Passover with us. Now we are here. Next year may we be in the land of Israel. Now we are slaves. Next year may we be free. I'll chant it in a moment, but it's a very strange text. And the positioning is even stranger. We sing this in our houses. All who are hungry, let them come and eat. Who's going to hear us? We're in our house. Nobody's up against the window waiting. All who are needy, let them come and celebrate. The wonderful words, but how is this helping people who are hungry and who are needy? And it's in Aramaic, which again is not accidental. Aramaic was the native language in the early days when this was being written. In the time of Jesus, certainly. Aramaic is their native language, and what this is saying is we are beginning telling our story. It's poetic, but I think it's profound, if I'm right. And if we were having a normal discussion or a normal seder, we would all be going around and reflecting. The idea is we begin telling our story, magid, telling. We begin telling our story, not in Hebrew, which is a wonderful language, but in Aramaic, which is our native language. And what that's telling you is you have to, if you're going to talk about finding your place, your way back home, you have to do it, and you have to find a practice and a tradition that speaks to you. Aramaic is their native language, so it's being spoken in Aramaic to make sure it speaks to the person. Find a sacred text that speaks to you, because it's telling you something. That's what magid means. This is telling you something. And it's not telling you to go out and invite people. That's wonderful. All who are hungry, it's asking you. It's telling you, are you hungry? Are you hungry for redemption? Are you hungry for nourishing wisdom? It's going to help you in the state that you are in, which is broken. Just finished yahatz, which is brokenness. Middle matzah, the core, is our brokenness. Make sure it speaks to you in a language that you understand. If your faith tradition isn't working for you, find another way to make it speak to you. Not with this person. You might be using the wrong guy. He might or she might be a wonderful guy. But it doesn't speak to you. It has to speak in your own language. Your spiritual practice has to speak with you, personally. And it has to speak deeply. And a very old melody that we sing, I'm not singing the whole thing. I said that last time about when I did the blessing over the grape juice, and I sang the whole thing. I'm not going to do it this time. But you can hear the melody. You've got to find again that melody that speaks to you. Find your song. Find your song. So we say, Olach ma'anya diacholu avosana ar the mitzrayim kol difni yese v'yecho kol ditri yese v'yisa hayaya 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 hayaya. It's a melody. And sometimes we just sing with melodies, not even words. We continue the words. We continue with a wordless melody because that ultimately speaks more. It's not limited by words, and we'll find our way back with song. So, all who are hungry, are you hungry? You have beautiful wisdom. Your tradition. Is it speaking to you? It's not going to speak to you if you're not hungry. It's not going to speak to you if you don't feel that deep need. All who are needy, let them come. Are you present? You have to come. You have to be present to encounter holy wisdom. We can show up, but you're not going to be touched or transformed. So this is a call for us. This is the bread of affliction. Right? We have it all here. We would sing it traditionally, we would sing it, we would lift it up. But it's here. We uncover it because we want to see it. We want to recognize that this bread is our affliction. Not just in the past, but now. But we still have song. We still have melody. And we can still hunger for the redemption that awaits. Because there is that peace somewhere in here. That dessert of lovely unleavened flat bread. It's a larger piece because there is something larger waiting. We are broken, but that's not all of who we are. There is something bigger out there that is waiting for us to find. We have to search. Now we begin another section within the Magi, within the telling, and this is fascinating. It's called the 4 questions. They didn't put it in Hebrew for some reason, but it just says 4 questions. These are called the Arba Kushiyos, or Kushiyot, not Arba Sha'alot, or Shilas. 2 words in Hebrew for questions. Shaila is just a regular question. I have a question, a sha'ala. Again, by Yiddish Hebrew, Shaila. We use the word here for, it's the Arba 4 Kushiyos, 4 questions. A Kushia comes from the word, it's like kashet, it's difficult, it's hard. We're starting off right after our brokenness. 4 questions. They're not going to sound like difficult questions, but these are challenging questions. 4 questions. It's telling us in life, in our sacred practice, be willing to ask difficult, challenging questions. Questioning is not Judaism. It's not something we fear. It's something we revere. And the proof that we revere it is we have the youngest children come up and sing it. And again, notice, we sing it. We sing challenging questions. So again, they're not going to sound like challenging questions, and I'm not going to go through why they even are. But I want you to know we're starting off our service, the telling, with the children coming up, asking questions, because we want to train our children to ask deep questions about life. Don't fear questions. Questions are not cynicism, that can lead to cynicism. But it's not. These are deep questions to lead us into the deep. If you want to encounter the deep, you have to go through difficult, challenging questions. Life is difficult, and if you want to find answers, you have to ask challenging questions. So it's a beautiful song, and it starts off with, why is this night different? Or how is this night different from all other nights? I don't have any kids up here to come and sing. But man ishtana halayla zemiko halayla. And we'll go on and on. I'm not going to sing it. It's asking us this question. It really is not just for the children. It's asking us, how is this? Why is this night going to be different? How will it be different from all other nights? All other nights, what happens? Not much changes. What this is telling us, or asking us, or calling us into, is something that, if we're honest, is painful. We walk through our spiritual lives. We show up on Saturday or Friday night, and Saturday night. Well, show up on Sunday. We show up on all our holidays. But what really changes? This is our first holiday. It's the foundational holiday in the Jewish calendar. That's why the humility is so central to this holiday. Because everything else is built on this. This is your beginning. And if your foundation is shaky, nothing else is going to last. The first question we're asked here is how, after we go through this, how are things going to be different this evening? Because of this evening. And in your case, I'll ask you. Easter is coming up. Ask yourself. Not how is this night, but how is Easter going to be different? How is this Easter going to be different? How is this Christmas? How is this fill in the blank? Is it going to be different? Or is it just going to be a different year? You're going to be the same. These are questions that we have to look within to find the answers to. If we want to change, if we want life to change, we have to change. But in order to change, we have to allow the wisdom that we're exploring to enter. To enter. I'm going to just read 2 questions here, and then we're going to discuss Maybe one more thing, then go into the Gospels and then call it an evening. Yes, sir? Yes? We good? 10 minutes? Okay, perfect. 10 minutes. The third question on page 9 and the fourth question on page 9. On all other nights, we don't dip our herbs even once. Why on this night do we dip twice? Notice the dipping. Just keep that in mind. Remember, we had leaning before. When we lean, now we're going to see it again. On all other nights, we eat our meals in any manner. On this night, why do we sit around the table in the reclining, in the leaning position? Dipping and leaning are central. And it's in the context of the questions. Why? Why are we leaning? I want to say one more thing on questions within the 10 minutes. People fear questions. We do, especially in the context of religion. We don't have to fear questions. If we understand that we are ultimately connected to the answer, the question will never truly uproot you. It will cause you to think. It will never truly uproot you if you're grounded in the answer. There is an answer. The answer is divine. And it's the divine wisdom that God has given us. So questions, yes, they can challenge. There is something deeper than a question, which is the answer. And if we know there is an answer, questions will not uproot you to the point of, you're gone, and I've left. It may shake, but it will never fully uproot. So don't fear the questions. So we had this idea of leaning. I want to go through a couple of verses in the New Testament. I got the ESV. It's got a V in it, so it's close to the KJV, but they all have V's in them. NIV, right? So in Matthew 26, I want you to hear this. This is again, starting in Matthew 26. It says, now it was on the first day of the unleavened bread. That's the Chag HaMatzot. That's the biblical name. It's Festival of the Unleavened Bread. It's called that in every gospel. And everything I'm telling you is in every gospel. Slightly different form, but this is all there. We're only going to do it in Matthew because of time. It's on the first day of the unleavened bread, verse 17. The disciples came to Jesus saying, where will you have us prepare for you to eat the Passover? So they're getting ready to eat the Passover. Now, skipping to verse 20. When it was evening, he reclined at the table with the 12. The word for reclined is leaning. You hear that? This isn't just something we do today. They did it back in the time of Jesus, and we did it before that. This is an ancient practice, and I want to give you a sense of what it might be, a potential. Again, I'm telling you my thoughts and reflections, but it would be wonderful if we had the opportunity to hear your insights. I'm just pointing a way, and it would be wonderful to hear your ways in also. This is my way in. But he's reclining at the table with the 12. And this reclining happens in every gospel. And it's the Passover. When we go to verse 23, he who has dipped his hand in the dish will betray me. We don't have to worry about the betrayal right now, but there's dipping. So you see two rituals in the New Testament that are found in the Haggadah, in the Passover text. Haggadah, telling. It's called telling because it's telling you something. My question for you is, are you listening? They're doing it here. They sat around the table like we're sitting. They're reclining, they're leaning. The idea of leaning, potentially, this is one way in to this ritual in form, but ritual action in Judaism always has a sacred concept that it's trying to bring into your life. It's not just a position that you're supposed to lean into. There's a concept here that it's trying to bring you into. So what happens if you're speaking to me, chaplain, and I'm leaning this way? What does that tell you?
You may be leery of what I'm saying, or nervous.
When you start to speak, if I'm leaning, what does that tell you?
You're paying attention. You're listening.
I'm there with you. I'm leaning into. And in fact, in John, when it mentions the leaning, he's leaning into the bosom of Jesus. And so I would ask you, do you think that's an accidental reference? Where are you leaning? This idea of reclining is so profound, and it's in the Passover meal because this is our foundational holiday. If we didn't get out of Egypt, folks, you guys wouldn't be here. Okay? And neither would, by the way, I know you call him Ephraim, right? How many folks are Ephraim here? Okay, let me tell you one thing. If Ephraim were standing right here, he would say, who the heck is Ephraim? That's not how you say it in Hebrew. And if you're from the tribe of Ephraim, it's Ephraim. Okay, so let me hear it once. Ephraim.
Ephraim.
All right, you're redeemed. Amen. So, no more Ephraim, folks. What I'm suggesting here is this ritual. So early on, at the beginning of the telling, this is the telling. Are you leaning? Are you leaning into, and not just here, but are you leaning into sacred wisdom? Or in the imagery of the Gospel of John, are you leaning into the bosom of Jesus? Is your mind, heart, and soul leaning into Jesus? Because if it's not, you're missing something very profound in life. And it's leaning into his heart. Is your heart leaning into his heart? Are all our hearts? Jesus is a great God, fine. We might have a little theological difference here over one area or aspect of Jesus. But I'm writing on the Sermon on the Mount, okay? Jesus is a fantastic, brilliant scholar and rabbi. We have an issue there over the divinity. Wonderful. We can talk about that later. But we can still come together on the heart of Jesus is something we should all be leaning into. It says it in the text, not my words. And I would simply ask you, what are you leaning into in life? If it's not the heart of Jesus, if it's not the heart of wisdom, and we all fail in this area, we all need to hear this. That's why we lean. That's one image, at least, that I can offer you. And I think I'm just going to keep it with the 10 minutes that I was given. This is how we begin our story. Are you leaning? You're leaning. What are you leaning into, folks? That's a much broader question, but these are questions. The form is meant to open it up into a dialogue. Your answer is just as important as mine. And you have something to teach me. And next year, I pray we can do something again where we can have more time together. So I can hear your wisdom and we can all learn from each other more. Because I promise you, there's much more to say about each of the statements here. That's the form. But it opens up into something much more once you sit and lean into it and listen to it. It's telling you something. The text is called Haggadah, the telling. But are we listening? Once we listen, it speaks a lot differently. And it'll speak through all of you. And so we will close with just one, let me see, what can I do? One thing just to put a little, I don't want to do something depressive even though it's so beautiful. It's already been heavy enough. You know what? we'll sing a song, because later on in Luke it talks about the cup of blessing. It's the third cup. We're going to have 4 cups tonight. All of this, that's kind of the song that we sing, right? So, it's the cup of blessing. We make a blessing over the third cup. These are ancient rituals. Okay? Whether you do them in form, I'm not concerned with. But what I am hopeful for all of us, is that when we come together, that we can hopefully inspire us and encourage us to maybe lean in a little more, to listen a little more, to come together a little more. Come together a little more, so that we can come out of where we were. Not the Egypt that our ancestors were in, but the Egypt. And by the way, Egypt literally means it's a place of straits. Mina Meitzar, from between the straits. Mitzrayim, Meitzar. We're all in Egypt. Tsar is a place of pressure. We're all in between the straits. We need each other to help get out. And that's what we're here for. And when we speak and we go through these simple stories that were written very simply, when you reflect and lean into and listen and chew, worlds will open within, and that will lead you into living a very different life in this world without. So we'll just sing one song. I guess I'll sing it. You guys don't know it. And, I got enough pressure here tonight as it is.
But you've done so well.
Well, thank you. And yet now I got to sing before, the descendants of the, Tabernacle Choir. So maybe you can all cover for me. But there's a beautiful song that we sing. It's Psalm 118. I don't need it. The ultimate goal here, it's called Piskuli Share Tzedek. Open for me the gates of righteousness. I hope our coming together, the brief time that we had, however I may have tried to express this, I hope something spoke, or at least opened up a little window to allow you to see whatever is broader here and deeper here. You've got a quad that also has deep wisdom. Lean into it. It's telling you something. Listen to it. It's speaking to you. The question always is, are we listening? And are we leaning into? The way we know if a person is leaning into their wisdom is if they're living a more righteous life. How we live is ultimately Judaism. That's determinative. Whatever our faith may be, we may fail in faith, we may struggle in faith, but your life, how you're living, that tells me who you are, even when your faith may not live within you, because we all have times when our faith is shaken. So the song, again, is Peaceful Is from Psalm 118. Open for me the gates of righteousness. I'll just do 30 seconds, and we'll call it a night. We'll eat and come back again, hopefully, in the future, maybe even more than once. So, Peaceful is Share Tzedek, and then we can all hum together. Ay, 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 ay. Again. Ay, 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 blessings to all of you. I hope that this was something. That in the short time that we had, I was able to bring out something within. That's the most important. Is whatever we're doing in our faith life, is it touching us within, and is it leading us out? We're all in Egypt. Mitzrayim, again, I leave you with Mitzrayim is Lashon, the language of Min HaMeitzar, Tsar, Mitzrayim. Okay, it's got that tsar. We're all in a place of somehow, for some reason, in exile, in brokenness. We're not who we ultimately can be. But there is a way out. It's not an easy way out. why God led us a longer way, so we don't go back.
Rabbi Joe,
Yes,
here's a
ma'am.
question. Part of why I love Judaism is how well they remember things. And Jesus was a Jew. Is this working? Can you hear me? Just really close. Is it working? I don't think it's working. Hello? Yes? So, I love Judaism. It's working.
I think it was me.
Maybe if we are apart from each other.
I think it's me. Hello.
Jesus did for his Last Supper a seder.
Yes. I turned mine off.
It was a Last Supper. He asked
Yes.
his apostles to prepare the Last Supper, which was a Jewish seder. I'm going to use yours. I think this isn't working very well.
Just put it on.
Hello? 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 Is it working?
There you go.
Okay, so Jesus did a Last Supper with his apostles. It was a seder. It was Passover. Jesus was Jewish. So for years, my family, I grew up in Huntington Beach, California. My friends were Jewish, all different religions. And so these are my plates, the ones that are the nice ones, and I've done it for years. When I did a Shabbat with him last fall at Reverend Danny's, I begged him, I said, please do a seder, because then we can know what Jesus did, and we're following him. But the question was, they wanted you to explain the bitter herbs and what this is about, to remember the Passover.
Okay.
Just
World
5
record,
minutes,
2
and then
minutes,
overheat.
3 minutes.
But the plates have these,
Yeah,
you see them
the
in the
plates.
middle of your
Is the design, let me just see it, because sometimes they have different orders. Okay, so normally in the center, plate is beautiful, it's all, normally in the center, there is the maror, the bitter herbs,
to represent
the bitterness of
bondage.
bondage. Just like we had the broken matzah was the middle matzah, you can see there's a core dimension here.
And in the unleavened bread, there was no time to wait for the bread to
Right.
rise.
So the bitterness of life, not just back then in that Egypt, but in our own Egypt, in our own struggles of life. That's why it's in the center. It represents that. The beet would normally be a shank bone. That represents one of the offerings. There were 2 offerings in the temple during Passover. That's what the beet and the egg represent. And the chopped up apples and nuts represent mortar, symbolically. And we would have done something, in fact, I'll tell you what we would have done. But that represents the mortar because they had to build with mortar.
Do you remember Charlton Heston, the bricks?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, again,
My favorite show.
that's mortar. That's struggle.
Is that all?
No, we know the bitterness in life. That's the marrow. And that's at the heart of life. It's at the heart. There is bitterness. And that's why we are here, to help bring sweetness.
And it makes us stronger.
This taste, if you have some of the harosas, the bitterness is the horseradish. The apples and the nuts are the harosas. The chopped up apples, the brown stuff with the cinnamon.
And it represents.
That represents the mortar, which was also struggle and pain during the exile. Yet, what we did, what the rabbis had us do with that, is sweeten it. Because what they're trying to tell us is that even in our own bitter exile, where we might be having to build bricks, meaning with the mortar, that there's still something sweet we can find. There is something sweet we can find, even in the bitterness. And so, that's what we're here to bring. To try and help find some sweetness, something nourishing, even in the bitterness. And we actually, at one point, we would have taken with the lettuce, we would have put the haroset on it, the apples. Again, this is another bitter herb. The lettuce leaves are bitter. We would have taken the bitter herb, the other bitter herb, sweetened it with some of the haroset to remind us that the bitterness and the struggle, the pain in life, still, there is potential for something sweet and nourishing. So it's an important symbolic, yes, reminder, but it's also a very, I think, profound insight into life. that bitterness is not the end. We can find ways to help sweeten life. And that's what we're here to do. Help sweeten the bitterness of life, which is often at the core of our existence. It's not our end. It's not our end. But it is often a large part of life. But the sweetness is available, and that's why we eat the bitterness together with the sweetness, to remind us that, folks, there is still potential for something redeeming in life. Again, we got to do it together. Can't do it alone.
Takes a tribe.
I ain't having that. I don't eat the egg.
What does the egg represent?
That's one. It's one of the offerings. I mean, we didn't use eggs, but the egg and the shank bone were two of the offerings. They just use that as part of the offering, symbolic of one of the offerings, because that's what they put.
So speaking
The egg also, again, I will tell you, same idea. What do eggs often? What do they have the potential for? Life. Even though the heart of life is, we've got two bitter herbs there. We've got sweetness there that can give us the potential for birth. And what are you? In 2 Corinthians, I study New Testament, I study your tradition more than you probably realize. And I mean your tradition. I've gone through Come Follow Me, it's my second cycle. Well, it's only the second cycle. I've gone through it 3 cycles. But in Christ, 2 Corinthians 5:17. I'm pretty sure it's 5:17. 2 Corinthians 5. You are a new creation in who? Christ. Oh, come on, folks. Christ. I didn't hear anybody in the back. Is that because everything is now perfect because you have Jesus? No, it's not. But there is still new creation, new potential. There is new birth, new hope. There is potential, folks. And I hope that we continue to grow in our potential. And I thank you for everything that you've been here tonight and suffered through with me. Here you go.
Let's clap for him.